Whatever your goal may be, muscle, strength, endurance, a combination of each, Calisthenics Circuits will get the job done. While basic on the surface, this training style allows for endless variation and contains within it a great deal of complexity for those who go looking. At its base level, a calisthenics circuit is nothing more than a collection of exercises done back-to-back for a set number of reps. You might compare this to supersets or giant sets depending on how many exercises are in the circuit. The main difference between methods is how they approach fatigue. With a superset, you'll typically push each exercise all the way or close to failure, doing as many reps as you can in every set. Circuits, however, usually have a predetermined number of reps you'll do in each set and rely on cumulative fatigue over time to force adaptation. With a superset, you improve by doing more reps per set. With circuits, you improve by doing the same number of reps in less time. A common calisthenics superset is push-ups and pull-ups done back-to-back for 3 sets of max reps. The circuit counterpart to this example might be something like 10 push-ups followed by 5 pull-ups completed for 5 rounds. While the goal of supersets or giant sets is a direct path to pure muscle fatigue, circuits walk a fine line between muscle fatigue and cardiovascular demand, sometimes with the intention of maintaining a perfect balance between the two, and sometimes purposefully shifting things in one direction or the other. Movement patterns used or not used, the total number of exercises, as well as the total number of rounds completed, rep scheme and reps per set, and general intention are all determined by what you hope to gain from a calisthenics circuit. All circuits build muscle, or at the very least are muscle sparing, and they all improve conditioning, but with proper planning and a solid understanding of how exercises fit together, the level at which they do these things can be skewed in either direction. After many years of trial and error, spent in the trenches digging deep to figure this stuff out, I've determined there are 3 main types of calisthenics circuits: cardio-focused, muscle-focused, and a balance of the two. To better understand the extremes, let us first begin in the middle with the balanced approach and discuss the why and the how. Creating something that is equal parts cardio and muscle fatigue is the gold standard of calisthenics circuits. When done right, a balanced circuit will push you all the way to the very edge of both. You'll have just enough strength to complete your reps and just enough conditioning to keep pushing towards the end, but not an ounce more than that. A circuit like this builds as much, if not more, muscle than any other style and develops pure strength endurance, which is arguably the most useful type of strength you can have, as anything that needs doing usually needs done again. Creating something like this requires careful planning, trial and error, and the willpower to keep going, but once you have it, it's yours to keep and yours to improve. The problem with recommending one exact circuit for everyone is that no 2 people have the exact same strength and weaknesses or levels of conditioning, and most importantly, not everyone wants the same things. The only way to truly create a circuit that suits you as an individual is to shape it over time. While I can't say for sure that one circuit will work for everyone, I can give some guidelines to follow, as well as a few examples that might give you an idea where to start. As tempting as it may be to try doing everything at once, if your goal is building a circuit that balances muscle fatigue and cardio equally, you'll want to leave the lower body out of it. Pairing upper body exercises with lower body exercises will push things way too far in the direction of straight up cardio. Not only are your legs operating at an entirely different level of strength compared to the upper body, which makes it difficult to reach an adequate level of muscle fatigue fast enough, but forcing the heart to pump extra blood across the entire body all at the same time gets you winded very quickly. You'll never build the maximum amount of muscle possible this way. The trick to creating a balanced circuit is allowing for just the right amount of intra-set rest. If we look at the basic movement patterns of the upper body, we have a horizontal push and pull and a vertical push and pull. That makes 4. We can also think of ab exercises as another, which makes 5. Each of these patterns works the muscles in a different way. Vertical pulls are typically lat focused, horizontal pulls are upper back focused, a vertical push is shoulder focused, and a horizontal push biases the chest. The separation between patterns isn't perfect. Vertical pulls still work the upper back, horizontal still works the lats, but there's enough of a difference between them to allow for some muscle recovery to take place. Having one exercise in your circuit focused on each pattern seems to be the sweet spot, allowing for just enough muscle recovery for you to maintain a steady pace, but not so much recovery that you lose the muscle building effects that come from staying close to failure. Having more than one exercise focused on the same pattern in a circuit of 4 or 5 exercises means you won't get enough intra-set recovery, and muscle fatigue will outpace the cardio demand. The same thing happens when you have fewer than 4 exercises in a circuit. Even if every exercise was different, there still wouldn't be enough time between when you do an exercise and when you repeat it for the proper amount of recovery to take place. Having more than 5 movements in a circuit means you'll have too much time before returning to an exercise, and cardio will outpace muscle fatigue. For the perfect balance of cardio and muscle fatigue, you'll want to stick with the basics. Skill-based movements, plyometrics, or multi-part exercises tend to shift things too far in the direction of muscle fatigue. That means dips, push-ups, and pull-ups will work better than one-arm or archer pull-ups, plyo push-ups, or dive bomber push-ups. When creating a balanced circuit, the goal is for everything to flow together seamlessly. You never want to be slowed down because one exercise was too difficult compared to the rest. If you can do 15 reps with an exercise, you don't want to pair it with an exercise you can do for only 5 reps. It's unlikely you'll make everything completely balanced, but try to get as close as you can. As an example, if you can do 15 pike push-ups, 10 chin-ups, and 5 ultra-wide pull-ups, you'd be better off pairing the pike push-ups and chin-ups together when setting up your circuit. While the goal is to keep everything relatively even in terms of overall difficulty, you can get around this by using difficult and less difficult exercises in equal parts. For example, if you can do 5 wide pull-ups, 15 inverted rows, 5 decline pike push-ups, and 15 diamond push-ups, you could still create a balanced circuit with these exercises because the difficulty level is equal between push and pull. The wide pull-ups pair with the decline pike push-ups, and the inverted rows pair with the diamond push-ups. This doesn't need to be exact, but every bit counts when creating the perfect circuit. Somewhere between 3 to 6 reps per set seems to be the perfect middle ground. As fatigue sets in, sets of 8 and above become too demanding on the muscles and slow you down, and 1 or 2 reps per set often isn't pushing hard enough, though there will come a point when even 1 rep is difficult. This means for a circuit like this, regardless of how you outline it, you'll have more luck staying in the 3 to 6 rep range as often as you can. A good example of this would be the 10 down circuit. A 10 down for 5 exercises is 10 reps of each, then 9 reps of each, 8 of each, all the way down to 1. Even if this outline is what guides you from start to finish, you may wish to break some of the sets into multiple parts. You might do your sets of 10, then 9 straight through, but as fatigue sets in, your set of 8 might become a set of 5 for each, followed by a set of 3 for each exercise. 7 would become 4 plus 3, 6 is 4 plus 2, and so on, as needed. You don't need to use down circuits as your guide. You can set things up however you'd like, but if a set calls for high reps, always give yourself the opportunity to break it up into parts as needed. If calisthenics circuits are your primary training method, rotate between 2 to 3 different circuits and train 3 to 4 days per week. Having a few different circuits prevents overuse issues and allows adaptation to take place at a reasonable pace. Doing the same exact workout 3 times a week gets to be too much quick, and progress will be slow. Too many circuits also means slow progress. The combination of different exercises performed together is a skill, and you'll need to work that skill often if you want to improve. 20 to 40 minutes is just about as long as you'll need with a balanced circuit like this. If you have a 5 exercise circuit and you manage to complete it in under 20 minutes, add more so it becomes longer. Using 10 down as an example again, if you finish your 10 down in 15 minutes, you might change it to a 10 down and up, meaning you work from 10 down to 1, then from 1 back up to 10, and work on improving your time from there. The goal with these circuits is to slowly increase workout density over time. If you can take a 200 rep circuit from 20 minutes down to 10, you'll have done more work in less time, thus improving the density of that workout and becoming bigger, stronger, and more fit in the process. Here's a few examples of balanced circuits that have worked well for me. Remember that just because it works for me doesn't mean it'll work for you. We all have our own individual strengths and weaknesses, and you might have to tweak these a bit, but this might give you a good place to start from. So the first one is chin-ups, dips, ring rows, pike push-ups, and the ab wheel, done for a basic 10 down. The next one is wide pull-ups, decline pike push-ups, hanging leg raises, inverted rows, diamond push-ups, and you do that for a set of 6 each, then a set of 5, then a set of 4, and that's one rotation, and then you do that rotation all the way through 4 times. And the final one would be neutral pull-ups, decline diamond push-ups, the ab wheel, and push-ups on parallettes, and you do that one for a 10 down and up. With a solid understanding of how to create a perfectly balanced circuit, we can move on to the extremes. This is where the fun begins. While setting up a balanced circuit is exactly that, a balancing act, with the other two styles, our goal becomes finding fun and exciting ways to push a circuit as far as we can in one direction or the other. How many rules can we break? How many ideas can we throw together at one time to create something truly brutal? Let's get into it. The muscle-focused circuit gets rid of most of the cardiovascular demand usually associated with this style of training and aims to work a muscle group to its absolute limit in as little time as is possible. Due to the name muscle-focused, it's easy to assume this style must be better at stimulating muscle growth than a balanced circuit would be, but the name is a bit misleading. When set up correctly, a balanced circuit will build just as much muscle over a much larger area of the body. The downside is it can be very mentally draining. It takes a lot of willpower to push like you need to with so many different exercises at once. The muscle-focused circuit lets you focus in on one or two particular areas and accumulate a ton of quality volume for those muscles. Our goal with these circuits is to push ourselves to the point where every single rep feels like the final rep of an all-out set. We want every rep to be as close to failure as we can make it. This training style will force you to push far beyond what's comfortable, but the reward is well worth it. Just as with the balanced circuits, mixing upper body and lower body exercises will be much too draining on the cardiovascular system for our purpose here. Stick with upper body exercises and you'll be much better off. In a balanced circuit, we wanted enough intraset rest to allow for minor muscle recovery between exercises in order to maintain a steady pace. Here we want the opposite. Here we want our target area of focus to stay as close to failure at all times as we can get it. This must be within reason though. A small break will allow for much more total volume and prevents idleness. We could, for example, just do pull-ups non-stop until we reach 100 reps, but this requires way too much time spent just standing around waiting. If you can only do 10 reps in a set normally, there's no way you'll make it to 100 in one go. You'd need to step away from the bar often to recover. These muscle-focused circuits essentially just take that same idea and fill in that time you'd normally be resting with more work for something else. When set up correctly, you may actually be able to hit the same level of fatigue in multiple areas at once, which saves a lot of time. In that example, working up to 100 pull-ups, rather than resting between sets, we might fill that time with dips. In this way, you'll have still done the same number of pull-ups at the same level of intensity, but rather than rest, you'll also get some quality volume for the chest, shoulders, and triceps from all the dips. For this reason, you'll want at least 2 exercises in your muscle-focused circuit, each focused on a different movement pattern, push, pull, or abs. You can take things one step further by adding a third exercise, but any more than 3 ends up taking away value rather than adding it. In a muscle-focused circuit made up of 3 exercises, you'll want 2 similar movements and 1 opposite movement. The best setup would have a vertical and horizontal exercise of the same type with different levels of difficulty, and an exercise of a different type. A good example would be decline pike push-ups, standard push-ups, and pull-ups. Decline pike push-ups and standard push-ups are both push movements, and the decline pike push-ups are generally more difficult, and pull-ups are a pull movement, unrelated to the other two. You would set the circuit up in this order: pull-ups, decline pike push-ups, standard push-ups. The standard push-ups work similar muscles to the pikes, but because they're easier, you should still manage all your reps. The pull-ups act as a replacement to the rest you would otherwise need. In a muscle-focused circuit, advanced or more technical exercises may be used in some situations. Generally, sticking with the basics works best, but if you're strong enough for it, you can add advanced variations. Just don't add more than 1 in a circuit. As an example, rather than pull-ups, ring rows, and diamond push-ups, you might try archer pull-ups, ring rows, and diamond push-ups. This can work very well and increase intensity by a good amount. You just need to stay honest with yourself at all times. If you end up half-repping most of the archer pull-ups because you're not yet strong enough, just do basic pull-ups next time. This ties directly in with the last point, but unlike with balanced circuits, you don't need to keep all exercises at the same level of difficulty. In a circuit made up of 2 parts, you might do something like ultra-wide pull-ups and basic push-ups. In this way, you'll get some rest between pull-ups and also get some extra pushing volume, but the focus stays on the pull-ups. The push-ups are so much easier that they act more as a form of active recovery between sets of pull-ups than as another stressor. You can also use varying levels of difficulty as a sort of mechanical drop set. set. Pull-ups, decline pike push-ups, and diamond push-ups as the example. The diamond push-ups are at a much lower difficulty level than the other two exercises, but because they're done after the decline pike push-ups, they become more difficult due to fatigue. Using lower rep sets in a balanced circuit allows you to maintain a steady pace. With a muscle-focused circuit, we want to push things further towards muscle fatigue, therefore higher rep sets are sometimes better. If you're doing a circuit made up of 3 different exercises, using sets closer to 6 to 10 reps rather than 3 to 6 will ensure muscle fatigue is reached quickly and stays there. With a circuit made up of 2, however, there is very little intra-set rest between movements. This means you can get away with doing lower rep sets and still make it close to failure, as the muscles never get much recovery time. You'll need to work with this a bit, and the exact rep scheme will depend on individual strengths. If you use muscle-focused circuits as your primary training style, you'll want to have at least 4 of them, each focused on one of the 4 primary movement patterns. This way, nothing gets underworked. With 4 circuits, you might set your training up so each pattern is a main focus of one circuit and a secondary focus of another. For example, circuit 1 might be pull-ups and push-ups. Pull-ups, a vertical pull, would be the primary focus of the circuit, and push-ups, a horizontal push, would be the secondary focus. Circuit 2 might be dips and inverted rows. Dips, a horizontal push, would be the main focus, and inverted rows, a horizontal pull, would be the secondary focus, and so on. This doesn't need to be perfect, but when setting up a complete training program, you'll want to make sure nothing gets neglected. These muscle-focused circuits are made up of fewer total exercises, therefore they don't need to be quite as long. 15 to 30 minutes is typically more than enough. Any more than that, and you'll be adding an exponentially higher recovery demand compared to any extra muscle building effects you might get. 30 minutes focused on 1 or 2 main muscle groups is all you'll ever need to sufficiently stimulate those muscles for maximum growth. Because these circuits are shorter, you can do more of them. If time permits, doing one of these per day up to 6 days a week works very well. If you don't want to train with such a high frequency, however, you can do 2 circuits back to back, 2 to 3 times per week. Your second circuit won't be as productive as it would have been if you were fresh. This is why training more days per week usually works better, but optimal should never get in the way of life, and doing multiple circuits on the same day still works well. Here are a few examples of muscle-focused circuits. The first one is pull-ups, dips, and pike push-ups, and you do it for a 10 down and up. The second one is decline pike push-ups on parallettes and wide pull-ups, and you'll do that for a set of 5, then a set of 3, then a set of 2, and that's 1 round, and you'll go for 5 rounds. The third one is L-sit chin-ups and diamond push-ups, and you do that for a 5 down, and then you repeat that 5 times. Cardio-focused calisthenics circuits are designed to get you out of breath quick and hold you there. Imagine the final mile of a 5-mile run. You're exhausted, winded, and the only thing driving you forward is sheer power of will. Now imagine that 5-mile run has actually been a race the entire time, and the creators of the race have a dark sense of humor. The final mile is full of obstacles. Now, with 4 miles already behind you, rather than an easy run to the finish line, you have to make your way up and over things, under things, and around them, jumping, crawling, climbing, pushing, bending, calling on strength you didn't know you have from somewhere deep inside yourself. This is what a cardio-focused calisthenics circuit is like. Brutal and unrelenting, but well worth the struggle. If you want to get in shape fast, this is the way to do it. Let's go over how to set them up. Cardio-focused calisthenics circuits make use of a workout method known as PHA, or peripheral heart action training. Originally, this was a specialized method wherein muscles near the heart were worked first, and over time, muscles further away from the heart in the limbs got worked after that, increasing the demand placed on the cardiovascular system. While we don't need to stick to any specific guidelines with our circuits here, we can use principles taken from PHA training to improve the efficiency of our own. Those principles being: 1. Every exercise should be followed by another completely unrelated exercise, meaning if exercise 1 focused on the lats, exercise 2 needs to focus on something else. And 2. The further away muscle groups are from each other, the greater the cardio demand, meaning we'll typically want to alternate back and forth between upper body and lower body exercises. More exercises in a circuit means more area covered and more muscle worked from different angles, which means a greater demand placed on the cardiovascular system. You can get pretty out there with these circuits too. I once had one made up of 15 different exercises. Keeping track of what came next did slow me down the first few times I did it, but once I had it memorized, it became the ultimate endurance-building half-hour torture fest. Typically closer to 5 different movements is all you'll need, but if you want to go crazy with it, you can. I made a video a long while back about these if you're interested. I'll link it below. In that video, I go over how these ultra circuits almost become something similar to a form in martial arts. These cardio-focused circuits are all about variety. How many different things can you combine together to create something challenging? Balanced circuits focused entirely on the basics, push-ups, pull-ups, etc. Muscle-focused circuits did the same but allowed for the occasional advanced variation, archer pull-ups, sternum pull-ups, and the like. Cardio-focused circuits introduce many new elements to the mix. Plyometric exercises like clap and push-ups or jump squats, combination exercises like the full burpee with a jump at the top, and even the occasional pure endurance exercise like mountain climbers or high knees, though these types of things should be used sparingly. With cardio-focused circuits, most anything goes. One type of exercise you will want to stay away from, however, is advanced strength-based or skill-based movements. You will be much too out of breath to effectively do something like a pseudo-planche push-up or a one-arm pull-up. These things would also push the circuit too far in the direction of specific muscle fatigue, which is something we want to avoid. Our goal is general fatigue everywhere, not excessive fatigue in one place. When doing a circuit like this, you always want the limiting factor to be conditioning and/or your will to keep going. Muscle fatigue shouldn't be what holds you back. It will be there, no doubt, but it should be secondary to those other things. For this reason, it's best to stick with exercises you could normally do for a lot of reps. A pike push-up will most likely be a better choice than a wall-assisted handstand push-up, for example. Just as with balanced circuits, moderate rep sets, usually somewhere between 3 to 6 reps, works best. Any more than that and pure muscle fatigue will slow you down, which, as stated before, is exactly what we don't want. While the goal with these circuits should always be to complete the reps faster than last time, we don't want to become too efficient at any one combination of exercises. Every circuit represents a skill, and as you become more skilled at something, it takes less energy to do it. Cardio-focused circuits should always be as inefficient as possible. They're most effective when you haven't had time to get better at them. This presents a bit of a problem. If the goal is to improve, but improving makes the workout less effective for building cardio, what are you to do? Well, you can get around this by having many different circuits. Ideally, you'll go at least a few weeks before repeating the exact same workout. Improvement will happen over time either way, but having more circuits to choose from means most of that improvement will come from improved endurance rather than improved skill. This may seem like a bit of a strange point, as at the end of the day, all calisthenics circuits, regardless of type, are created from the same list of exercises, push-ups, pull-ups, etc. But there's more to it than that. When you're completely fresh, a pull-up is a pull-up, but what about a pull-up after a set of rows, or after a set of push-ups? Different levels of fatigue in different parts of the body changes the exact starting place from which you do that basic pull-up. Every circuit is unique and changes that starting place in its own way. Over time, you may become more skilled at doing pull-ups after push-ups and rows, but that doesn't necessarily mean you'll become more skilled at doing pull-ups after dips and the ab wheel rollout. This is why, with cardio-focused circuits, more circuits is better. These cardio-focused calisthenics circuits are about as high intensity as it gets. You'll be performing at a very high level for a very long time. Any longer than 30 minutes, and more likely than not, you'll slow down significantly. Better to keep the workouts brief and to the point, rather than drag them out unnecessarily. Once or twice a week is all you'll need with these. The rest of your training time will be better spent elsewhere, focusing more on building muscle and strength directly. Here are a few cardio circuit examples. The first one is pull-ups, jump squats, pike push-ups, inverted rows, and burpees done for a basic 10 down. The next one is squats, ring rows, jumping lunges, plyo push-ups, and chin-ups, and you do each of those for a set of 6, then a set of 5, then a set of 4, and you do that for 5 rounds. And the final example is mountain climbers, burpees, pull-ups, jump squats, and hanging leg raises, and you do that for a 5 down, and you repeat that 5 down 5 times. And there you have it, a complete guide to calisthenics circuits. I've made a few other videos on this topic if you want to know more. I'll have them linked in the description below. I hope this helped you out. Which style is your favorite? As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.